The bill was referred to
Honorable members, we gazetted the two front benches for ministers. And that is gazetted in our rules.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The ministers are protected. The bill was sent to the Committee of Legal and Parliamentary Affairs for scrutiny and report back under Rule 135(1) and 200 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honourable Speaker, the object of the bill is to amend the Political Parties and Organisations Act, Cap 178, to achieve the following three things. One of them is to restrict government funding and other public resources provided to political parties and political organisations that are represented in Parliament to only political parties and organisations that are members of the National Consultative Forum. The other thing the bill seeks to address is to provide for the inter-party organisation for dialogue and the forum for non-represented political parties and political organisations as organs of the National Consultative Forum. And finally, Right Honourable, the bill seeks to provide for the functions of the inter-party organisation for dialogue and for related matters. Right Honourable Speaker, the Sectoral Committee on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs has told me that they have done their work, they've concluded consultations, and they are ready to report. I submit, Right Honourable.
Thank you, Honourable Sponsor.
That rule. And if it pleases you, I invite that rule be read entirely to this House. It is a conditional rule. It is contingent upon, first, the report is uploaded at least 3 days. For that rule for that motion to be accepted in this House, the first condition is that the reports are laid or circulated on our electronic platforms 3 days before. Secondly, that the chair presents the report here after those 3 days. I invite you to look, interrogate even the commas, the semicolons that are put there. In legislative drafting, it has a meaning. It cannot be ignored. I invite you, Madam Speaker, not to fall into the trap, not to be persuaded by that misdirected motion, not to accept it because it will be breaching our rules. If it means suspending the House to have ourselves understand that rule, Madam Speaker, it does not take away anything. Please protect the integrity of this House and follow the rules. Because if you don't follow the rules, even your rulings now does not matter. Nobody will be bound by it. If you do not follow the rules, there is nothing that will bind me now to follow your own rules. There is nothing that will bind us to have the order paper. I just invite you on that particular matter, that motion cannot stand unless the 3 days have expired and that report has been laid. That's my understanding, and I suppose that is very correct.
95, 94, 99, 104, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 124, 130, 131, 132, 133, 140, 149, and 205. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, Rule 214 is not one of those rules that this House cannot suspend. So if it so pleases the House is at liberty to act in accordance with the rules.
To be a forum for non-representative political parties and political organizations in which non-represented parties also have their own organ to discuss issues pertaining to them. The mover informed the committee that the current Council of the National Consultative Forum will remain for purposes of enforcing the Code of Conduct and dealing with members with matters arising from the two organs. In supporting the proposals contained in the bill, the Attorney General urged clustering the political parties and organizations in Uganda under the National Consultative Forum based on representation in Parliament, and those that are not represented in Parliament shall promote the spirit of tolerance, dialogue, and peaceful coexistence. Since the clustered political parties and organizations share similar and unique challenges that can be resolved through dialogue among themselves in their respective organs. The Attorney General further reasoned that this approach shall promote transparency, accountability, and adherence to multi-party political system principles provided for under Article 71 of the Constitution by the respective political parties. I'm coming to a conclusion, honourable members. It notes that the proposal to create an organ within the National Consultative Forum is intended to institutionalize the Interparty Organization for Dialogue as an organ of the NCF. The Interparty Organization for Dialogue, Uganda, is a legal entity incorporated in 2021 with an aim of pursuing and promoting inclusive democracy and the fundamental principles of democracy, good governance, human rights. IPOD will be moving into a direction that is fundamental to its work. Since its inception, IPOD has provided a unique platform where political parties across ideological and partisan divides can engage in structured, principled, and enhanced informed dialogue. The committee notes that Uganda's political history is characterized by cycles of conflict, contested transitions, and post-election tensions. IPOD has played a stabilizing role during these periods by facilitating inter-party communication, managing disputes, and encouraging tolerance. The committee notes that formalizing IPOD's status through an act of parliament shall provide a permanent institutional home for political dialogue, reduce the reliance on informal or external mediators, strengthen early warning and conflict prevention mechanisms in the political sector, enhance political party accountability for non-violent and issue-based competition. Recommendations. The committee recommends that IPOD should be institutionalized as proposed in clause 2 and 3. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, the committee recommends that the bill be passed subject to the proposed amendments attached here too.
Thank you.
Right Honourable Speaker, the report is duly signed by 14 members of the committee.
95 contravenes the provisions of Article 93 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Rule 130, Sub-Rule 1, Sub-Rule B and C of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament of Uganda. Extracts from the Statement of Justification of the clauses of the bill signed and presented to the committee by the Honourable Yusuf Mutembuli, MP Bunyole East, in paragraph 2, page 6, is reproduced as follows. The bill, in clause 2, proposes to institutionalize IPOD as an organ of the Consultative Forum. The Consultative Forum is currently created under Section 20 of the Principal Act. The National Consultative Forum shall have two organs. A, the organ, and I underline the word organ for emphasis, the organ for political parties and political organizations with representation in Parliament, which shall be known as the Inter-Party Organizations for Dialogue. And B, the organ, I highlight again, the organ for political parties and political organizations without representation in Parliament, which shall be known as the Forum for Represented Political Parties, Non-Represented Political Parties, and Political Organizations. This will ensure that political parties represented in Parliament have their own organ within the National Consultative Forum, where they will discuss their unique issues pertaining to them. Likewise, there will also be a forum for non-represented political parties and political organizations in which the non-represented parties also have their own organ to discuss issues pertaining to them. The current council of the National Consultative Forum will remain for the purpose of enforcing the code and dealing with matters arising from the two organs. End of quote. The Honorable Yusuf Mutembuli was accompanied to the committee by Mr. Serwambala Kabagabe Lawrence, who signed his written submission as the Executive Director, Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue, IPOD. Please, Right Honourable Speaker and members, pay attention to the following extracts from the written submission of Mr. Serwambala. Today, open quotation, today, I respectfully submit that it is time to give IPOD the dignity, durability, and legitimacy it deserves by making it a legal entity. I have underlined that word, by making it a legal entity under the laws of Uganda. That is found in paragraph 5 on page 1. He continues, I ask you on behalf of IPOD and on behalf of all political parties represented in Parliament to champion the legal institutionalizing, I underline that point, of IPOD. That is found in paragraph 4, page 2. I also wish to add that institutionalizing IPOD is even more justified by paragraph 5, page 2, as a statutory body, and I underline the word statutory body. IPOD would be empowered to, 1, enforce rules of engagement and ethical codes of conduct among political parties. 2, institutionalize youth and women participation in political dialogue. 3, mandate the regular review of reforms, including those on electoral laws, political finance, and civic education. He continues, such a statutory recognition would also offer structured pathway of emerging political actors to engage with mainstream governance mechanisms, thereby expanding Uganda's democratic base. That is in paragraph 2 on page 4 of Mr. Serwambala's presentation. As a statutory IPOD would be better positioned to, 1, monitor, and members, please pay attention, monitor, evaluate, and report on implementation of agreed-up reforms. Interface formally with the Electoral Commission, Parliament, and the Executive to track progress. Mobilize technical and financial resources with greater autonomy and transparency. Currently, IPOD's operations are donor-funded and dependent on the voluntary participation of political parties. He continues, institutionalizing IPOD will provide it with the legal identity, define government structure, and with the legal identity, define governance structure, and budgetary allocation from the National Treasury. 2, provide continuity in leadership, programming, and stakeholder engagement. They continue. A statutory foundation would help IPOD transition from a project-based entity to nationally owned and constitutionally anchored institution. That is found in paragraph 2 on page 5. Let IPOD not just be an initiative, but an institution. This is in the concluding paragraph on page 6. End of quotation. It is clear from the written submissions of the movers of the bill and their one-man ally, Mr. Serwambala, that the bill imposes a charge on the consolidated fund. Parliament is stopped from proceeding on any bill or a motion for that bill that imposes a statutory charge on the consolidated fund. This is in Article 93 of the Constitution and Rule 130, Sub-Rule 1 and 2 of the Rules of Procedure. This is the finding of the minority. The minority finds that the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Bill 2025, privately moved by the Honorable Nakut Faith Loru, Honorable Mutembuli Yusuf, and Honorable Afidra Ronald Olema, violates Article 93 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and therefore it is unconstitutional. The other dissent is overthrow of the legal mandates of the other institutions. The minority observed that the private members' bill, the Political Parties and Organizations Amendment Bill 2025, intends to overthrow the legal mandates of various institutions conferred by the Constitution and Acts of Parliament. A patient analysis of by the minority observed that Parliament, this institution, Electoral Commission, National Youth Council, National Women's Council, amongst others, will be relegated to be subordinate to IPOD. The mandate to carry out legal reforms is an exclusive preserve of Parliament, provided under Article 79. Nobody can make a law to reform issues of elections except this Parliament. 2, the mandate to enforce rules of engagement and conduct amongst political parties is the preserve of the Electoral Commission by law. The mandate to institutionalize women and youth in political spaces is a preserve of the Women and National Youth Councils. The recent policy of the NRM government, as told to us here in this Parliament by the Minister of Public Service, is that that MDAs are being rationalized for efficiency and effectiveness by eliminating duplication and wastefulness. This is my finding. The minority finds that the bill interferes with both the constitutional and statutory mandates of Parliament, Cabinet, Electoral Commission, National Youth Council, National Women's Council, and potentially amends by infection several acts of Parliament which will likely plunge government into conflicts and confusion. It is further found that provisions of the bill appear to contradict the government policy of rationalization, specifically on halting the creations of new bodies, organs, councils, secretariats, etc. The third effect of imposing a charge on the consolidated fund contrary to Article 93 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. 2, that the bill interferes with both constitutional and statutory mandates of Parliament, Cabinet, Electoral Commission, National Youth Council, National Women's Council, and potential amends by infection several acts of Parliament. 3, that the bill contradicts the government policy of rationalization on creation of new expenditure centers, such as the 2 organs proposed in this bill. 4, that the bill is diabolical and miserably falls short of meeting the provisions of Article 8A of the Constitution as far as participation in enactment of legislation. 5, the political parties and organizations amendment bill is frivolous, vexatious, unjustified, unreasonable, and irrational. Now, therefore, it is recommended to Parliament as follows: that no question be proposed upon the political parties and organizations bill. 2, motions seeking leave to introduce private members' bills should be subjected to rigorous scrutiny by way of extensive debate on the justification for the peculiar circumstances to warrant the grant of leave. If I may add, government must first fail reasonably to provide a bill to have a justification for private membership. B, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development be cautioned. The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development be cautioned to execute the mandate of the ministry diligently and avoid late-night escapades of issuance of defective certificates of financial implication. Parliament entangling and entertaining motions and bills arising out of petty quarrels and disagreements between individuals and institutions. Lastly, that the Business Committee of Parliament should convene on more regular basis to conduct business as provided in the rules of procedure. Madam Speaker, before I conclude, when a point of law or a point of procedure is raised in this House, it is my humble prayer that you make a ruling substantially. It cannot, a point of law or a preliminary objection cannot be put to vote. That preserve is entirely for the presiding officer. The ruling must be on the record. You cannot say because the points of law are raised. This is provided in our rules. And I request that where I have raised a point of law touching the Constitution, touching our rules, before you give a formal ruling. It is now hereby reported by this person who signed the minority report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Doe. The other minority? In the absence of the minority report, Attorney General, we need a response.
The plain reading of the same is saying that while the expenses expected to be used, the money is already in the budget. So what I understood from that there was no imposition. Government had already provided money. This bill is simply reorganizing. It's just simply reorganizing what already exists. So there's a National Consultative Forum for which money has been provided to run the affairs of the National Consultative Forum, and the bill seeks to reorganize the National Consultative Forum.
Does it have an effect on the money that we have always allocated?
No, Right Honorable. That's our understanding. That doesn't have any other charge. Now, on the issue of rationalization, I again, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, the National Consultative Forum consists of all the members of all the political parties registered in Uganda. The IPOD that is sought to be introduced, from my understanding, is only relating to a subset of those. All the political parties which are represented in the House are members of the National Consultative Forum. So they are saying we shall have a meeting of the 43 or whatever number you have, but we shall also have another meeting. So I don't think there is anything to do with rationalization here. So I don't know the other issue about the ruling of, I think, Right Honourable Speaker, we may run into a problem if we take the interpretation given by Honourable Odur. We are always discussing matters of law in the House. The principal purpose for which we are here is legislation. And at all points, we are discussing matters of law. So if the Speaker, every time we speak here on a point of law must pass a rule, then I think that's a wrong interpretation. I have not seen that provision in the rules. Right Honourable Speaker, lastly, this is a minority report. There's been a majority report, a minority report, so the members should now be allowed to debate those reports and then make a decision on how to proceed. I beg to
And these reports are basically to form a debate on.
Bill has a financial implication which has been provided for in the budget of this institution. Okay. So it is not an imposition of a charge. It is saying that from my reading of this, whatever money you're going to use to do this is already there. So it's not an imposition. They are not imposing a charge on the council. They're actually just spending what has been provided.
Okay. And the certificate that was given by government, I have asked the government to respond to the issue whether it imposes a tax or it has an effect on Article 93. And government says it does not have an effect on Article 93. And if government says it does not have, and that is the legal advisor of government, and says it has no effect, then it doesn't. Is a legal advisor, yes, finance, subscribe to iPod for them to be able to get what? To get part of this money. There is no additional money that is being added on political parties. It is exactly the same amount that has been there that is going to be distributed according to the numerical strength in the House. But the law is also saying that if you do not want to cooperate by being part of iPod, then you do not qualify. Meaning that if you don't participate in iPod, the money that is going to be distributed to the other parties that are in iPod actually will be within them, and it increases on their money. Yes, Dr. Chris. Let's first have Chris.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I think the Honourable Dur should not of the Constitution is very clear, and it does not. The current bill does not in any way offend the article, because, Right Honourable Speaker, I read the article verbatim. It says, in summary, it prohibits Parliament from proceeding on a bill or an amendment unless it is done on behalf of government which imposes a charge on any public fund. Right Honourable Speaker, the Political Parties Act, which is already in existence, created a charge on the public fund, and that's not in doubt. All what the bill is saying is how should this money be spent. It does not in any way suggest, there is no single provision that says or proposes that there will be another charge made on the consolidated fund. So in my opinion, the bill is constitutional and it does not offend that Article 93 in any way.
Thank you. Let Odur wind up and...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is my last, and then it can be debated. I'm submitting that without prejudice, I request that as per the rules, you give your ruling so that the House can proceed.
I have given my ruling that it does not have an chair.
Procedure.
Proceed, Honourable Speaker.
Yes.
As a member of the IPOD Summit, I am finding it extremely strange that I cannot even put input on the goings on of IPOD on record. You see, Madam Speaker, every parliament we have debated a memorandum, and there's a current memorandum which is standing for IPOD. And the chair of IPOD for the last 4 years has been NRM. And if there's any breach, it is NRM who have failed to call a summit or even a council meeting. So it is important that we deal with this actual issue, because what are we correcting? What is the sickness? What is the disease we're correcting? At the moment, the summit has not sat since NRM has been in the chair for 4 years. Yet it's supposed to be 6 months. The provisions which are being brought now are being brought in bad faith, because in the last parliament, under the chairmanship of Honourable Boss of Boss, IPOD brought it, and I personally presented them to the same committee. Because the increased funding which came in a supplementary of 2020 had IPOD in it. And how was that money to be shared? At that time, political parties were sharing 10 billion per annum. Under the IPOD arrangement, it was increased to 35, with 5 billion going as the 15%, another 5 billion for covering the other 15%, and then 70%, the 25 billion, was on numerical strength. At that time, the president acknowledged that NRM acted in bad faith by not allowing that amendment to pass. They acted in bad faith. The words of the president, unchristian. And now we are going through a process to undermine everything. There's no dialogue here. If we talk about dialogue, as a political party, as a leader of a political party, as the political party which first held the first summit, from 2009, the first summit was held in December 2018, under my chairmanship. And the principles which we're debating is what we agreed in that. It's under the Democratic Party that they put flesh on those principles. And honestly, Madam Speaker, are we proceeding well when we cannot discuss this issue? I have not been consulted as a leader of the summit. As a political party, we have not been consulted. How is it that we're debating this issue? And that is why I say it is diabolical. It is not done in the interest of the political players. I speak for UPC. My brother Asuman is not part of this. And I'm thankful that Mao is not here to embarrass himself. This is wrong. And we shall all be judged.
Thank you.
Let us be honest.
Honourable members, Chair.
Procedure, Honourable Speaker.
Yes.
As a member of the IPOD Summit, I am finding it extremely strange that I cannot even put input on
Honourable Minister Kasaija and the Hollow House, except the Honourable Dur. Hollow House. Would you love to speak to your motion?
Yes, Right Honourable. Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes.
One D and Rule 17 of the Rules of Procedure of this House, I beg to move a motion for the suspension of Rule 214, 14B, to waive the requirement in the rules that a committee report on a bill shall be debated after the expiry of 3 days from the date the report was tabled. My motion, Right Honourable Speaker, is premised on the fact that in your communication this morning, you indicated we are at the tail end of this session and we still have a lot of...
Honourable Karamoja Affairs, Minister, Honorable Cheng, Honorable Namiango, Honorable Musasisi, Honorable Ilukor, Honorable Wilson, Ababiku, Chemaswet, Sanoni, Rionga, Ashaba, Fred.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I can read the rule. The rule says B, only be debated after the expiry of at least 3 days from the day the report was laid on table by the chairperson or deputy chairperson or a member designated by the committee or by the speaker. First of all, there is no comma in this rule. There is no semicolon in this rule. It
Bill has a financial implication which has been provided for in the budget of this institution. Okay. So it is not an imposition of a charge. It is saying that from my reading of this, whatever money you're going to use to do this is already there. So it's not an imposition. They are not imposing a charge on the they're actually just spending what has been provided.
Okay. And the certificate that was given by government, I have asked the government to respond to the issue whether it imposes a tax or it has an effect on Article 93. And government says it does not have an effect on Article 93. And if government says it does not have, and that is the legal advisor of government, and says it has no effect, then it doesn't. Is a legal advisor, yes, finance. One, maybe ask the president not to assent. Close one.
Close one.
Close one.
In the following terms. Clause 1 of the bill is amended.
I beg to move that the bill entitled Uganda People's Defense Forces Amendment be read for the second time.
Seconded.
Honourable members, Madam Speaker.
Almighty God, the leaders in parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity. We beseech you to look upon the tabernacle to the performance of such important tasks in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under the deliberation
in so just and faithful a manner as to promote honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their church.
And pursuant to Rule 32 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I will now invite the Commissioner to table the report. Can we have the report?
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay and the freedoms in Uganda in 2024. I beg to lay.
Thank you, Honorable Musasisi. Honorable members, pursuant to Rule 33(5) of the Rules of Procedure.
So right, let me finish this, Honorable Speaker, and then you'll guide. So the reason I have insisted
To move a motion to that effect. Honorable Nakut.
Right Honorable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 136 of the Rules of Procedure,